Hey guys, good evening. Happy Sunday. Thank you for joining. We're going to get started here in just a minute. I should unmute. Okay, I show 7 o'clock in Texas. And we're just going to go ahead and switch right over here to that screen right there. Guys, good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. Hey, Renee. I see Renee 6 in the chat. We're going to talk about M17 with Ed and Steve tonight. And I got a brand new radio. The Connect Systems CS7000 M17. It even says M17 on the radio right there. So you know it's legit. It's like reading something on the internet. You know it's true because you read it on the internet, right? I don't know, but supposedly this is the one that works. So we'll talk about that here in a second. I want to shout out to the YouTube channel members tonight, the ones who have joined the chat. Wayne, Tom, I see you guys in there. Grayman POTA, Steve. What's up? Jody, VA5SAR, good evening. Ed, AC3IK. Randall, KR5EEE. Lee, see you in there. Ronald, T-Man, see you guys in there. Good evening to all. Thank you to those of you who came out to the POTA event yesterday. We didn't have very many people, maybe 8 or 10, something like that. Maybe, probably like 7 or 8, something like that. But it was a fun time. We set up the hex beam, made a lot of contacts. 10 meters was open. 15 meters was open. Don in 5 SKT was out there. We plugged in the triplexer to the hex beam. We ran 10 meters, ran 15 meters, ran some 20 meters. Got a couple of met a guy out there named Mike who is a technician, and he sat there on 10 meters with his G90 and made a lot of contacts. So it was a fun time. So hopefully you guys got to get on the air yesterday for Parks on the Air. New York QSO party was apparently that same day or same weekend, and Jamboree on the Air was, of course, on Saturday. So there was a lot of people on the air on Saturday. Not a bad thing. Just made a lot of contacts, and it was all a good thing. So thank you to those of you who I worked over the air. That was a fun time. So, all right. So M17. I will give a brief. I'll let Steve or Ed give a brief explanation of what M17 is, because every time I do one of these videos, I go back and people are like, "Well, it would have helped if you would explain what M17." And like literally, we've done that like a half dozen times, because this is not the first time we've talked about M17 on the show. So I will get them to give you a brief explanation of what M17 is. I can give you my explanation. It's a brand new digital codec using brand new digital voice mode using codec 2. I think it's codec 2. I think it's 2. But it's an open source codec. So they're laughing at me right now. I can see them in Zoom. They're laughing at me. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. They're probably laughing at my accent. These New York guys laughing at the Texas guy accent. So, and that's okay. That's all right. But first, before we do that, I'm going to give the floor to Ed for a minute. Let me bring them on here real quick, and I want to choose which. Yeah, we're going to go to that one right there. Good evening to you both. What's up, guys?
Hey, how's it going?
What's going on, Jason?
Oh, it is you know, the weather out here has been freaking extraordinary for the last couple weeks. It was like in the 40s the last 2 or 3 mornings, and it's been in the like mid 70s to low 80s for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm just loving it. I'm like, I wish it would. Our fall lasts about 3 weeks, so I wish it would last the whole 3 months, but it doesn't. But that's where we are today. So what's going on with you guys?
Same old garbage. Enjoying the beautiful weather. We're having a resurgence of late spring, early summer here as well.
Okay. Well,
yeah, I think it got up to about 75 today.
Oh wow, yeah, you guys are breaking out the swim trunks, I bet. So yeah, good. Okay, so Ed, I know you want to talk. Ed is running for division director. Is that correct?
Hudson Division Director.
Hudson Division Director.
I'm the currently appointed Hudson Division Director.
Okay.
We're in the middle of an election right now.
Okay.
I wanted to give a shout out to everybody from the Hudson Division that's been out there and given me lots of support, lots of help, and also giving me a hand helping out the high school kids, Staten Island Technical High School. So a shout out over there to KD2ZZT Everton. He's their teacher. We've licensed 110 students.
Wow.
At that school in the last year, and we plan on licensing about another 150 more, probably by January. So, Everton is a graduate of the Teachers Institute of Wireless Technology from the ARRL, and he's one of the 2 model schools that the ARRL has adopted. So, myself and Good Game, we go down there quite often. We're hanging out with the kids. We're showing them a few things. They're teaching us a couple of things. So it's a lot of fun. We were down there a couple of weeks ago, and they had me and Good Game. It happened to be their club day, so they were recruiting for their ham radio club, and they had me and Good Game at the table talking about ham radios. Kind of interesting, hanging out with the high school kids. But
good.
Yeah, Teachers Institute, really, really great program. I think there's going to be an upcoming telethon coming up somewhere around Thanksgiving.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So I think Josh is going to be handling that. So
okay.
All
good.
the help. And just a shout out to my Eastern New York, New York City, Long Island sections, and a big shout out to Northern New Jersey. Thank you very much for the overwhelming support you guys have been showing me in the last few weeks in regards to this election.
Totally. Well, good luck to you. How many do you have? One person running against you, or 2, or how many is that working?
Just one opponent here.
Okay.
Just one opponent here. But one more thing, and then I'll turn it back over to Steve. I just want
Go ahead.
to let all of our ARRL members know that you need to demand and deserve a director that's going to go out there and get their hands dirty. My opponent said recently that directors don't get their hands dirty. That's a bunch of bull crap. So.
I've heard section managers and division directors both say that once you get elected, you stop actually doing ham radio.
Never.
And the guy who's my section manager absolutely does not do that. He's got a really great competition station with 2 or 3 flex radios, and he does a lot of competitions. You see his call sign on Ham Alert all the time. So yeah, he's like, that's not going to happen to me if I get elected. And sure enough, he's on the air quite a bit. But I've heard that before. So yeah, about your hands getting dirty and about not being on the air. So yeah, you want someone that does that for sure. So well, good luck to you, man. I hope it goes well for you. Thank
you very much.
Yep. All right, so we're going to talk about what are we talking about? M17. I'm going to talk about this. In fact, let me switch over here to this guy right here. Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, so this is my
top down.
Yeah, this is my CS7000 M17. This top channel selector knob doesn't seem to do anything.
Not yet. It'll adjust the frequency a bit.
Will it? Okay. See, it's not. It doesn't change anything on the screen.
Oh, maybe they did. Yeah. Maybe they changed something.
Oh, maybe it's different.
Now I got to check mine.
So there's 2 different radios on the Connect Systems website: the CS7000 M17 and the CS7000 M17 Plus. And I went and ordered the M17 Plus, which they claim will do M17, DMR, and analog all at the same time. You just program your channels in and go. Well, apparently the firmware is not ready for that one yet. So I contacted Connect Systems, and I'm like, send me the one that actually is ready to go for M17, and he traded the order. It was no big deal. But just be aware that if you're going to order one of these radios, and I put a link in the description below, I can share it here in a minute. But this is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the only one that actually has M17 in it right now from Connect Systems. And
yes.
It is. I thought this was going to be like a copy of one of their previous radios, or maybe look like a TYT radio. This is a brand new design. I really like the design. It's very solid feeling. It's got a recessed button over here, much like you'd see on like a Motorola type HT. It's got the blade connector over here on the side for programming, and they sent me it came with a programming cable. It's got a really nice looking screen as well.
got some nice weight to it. It's very sturdy.
Yes, yeah, it is. It's very sturdy. So I'm pretty happy with the. I haven't heard it yet. I haven't actually used it yet. I took it out of the box earlier today, make sure it was charged up and flashed and everything. And Steve said they're coming flashed with M17 firmware now. So let me zoom in on that a little bit.
Well, what is this M17 we're speaking about, Steve?
Oh yeah, we're okay. Yeah, I was gonna let you guys give us a spiel on that real quick. So let's talk about M17 real quick. Yeah.
All right. So M17 first started out as a project by Wojciech Kaczmarski, SP5 WWP in Poland. He was experimenting with other digital radio modes, DMR, Tetra. There was a couple others that he was messing around with, but his radio club that he was part of was really, interested in working on digital modes. And every single one of them that he came across did not fit the bill for amateur radio as far as he was concerned. And so he decided, well, let's just go ahead and make our own. And so M17 was born. A lot of people always ask, what's with the M17 name, and it has nothing to do with the pistol at all. As much as I want it to be, it doesn't.
Yeah. Dual purpose pistol plus radio.
Yes.
There you go. We've got an Android radio. We need a pistol radio now. So yeah, that'd be great. Okay. All right, go ahead.
But no, it comes from the address of the radio club in Poland. I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce the name of it, but basically it starts with the letter M, and the actual building number is 17, so it comes out M17. That's what they named it for.
Okay. Okay. I don't think I ever knew that. Okay.
Well,
good to know. Good to know.
I just did a presentation for a local club, so I had to put all this information in, so it's still pretty fresh in my mind.
Okay.
But M17 is a digital radio mode. It is does digital data and digital voice. I mean, obviously digital voice is digital data regardless, so it's all digital data. It's just that one is a stream mode, the other one's a packet mode. It uses the Codec 2 voice codec, which is an open source voice vocoder from Dave Rowe. I forget his call sign. I keep forgetting his call sign, but he's down in Australia. He did his thesis on it, and it's actually used widely for free DV. So if you've ever used free DV on HF, it's the same voice codec. It's just at a higher bit rate for VHF and up when you're talking about M17. M17 does digital voice, of course, but it's also digital data. We're starting to really dig into the digital data side of it. So all the packet radio stuff, SMS messaging, basically anything that you can think of that would need some sort of digital mode is possible through M17. And one of the things I like to point out is you can use M17 on some TNCs that are currently available, such as the mobile linked TNC. The TNC3 has it. The TNC4 has it as a mode that you can use. You just need a 9600 baud capable radio for that TNC to work with the M17 digital mode. And basically any KISS mode application that you can think of will be able to use M17 as its RF protocol. So things like WinLink has a packet TNC mode. So you could use M17 instead of having to, pay for a VARA license or, get a Pactor modem. You could use M17 instead. I mean, granted, it's VHF and up, but still, it's a decent fast mode for packet radio. But it's been in development since 2019, and here we are now, 2024. We actually have HTs with the M17 protocol now being built into it. So I've come quite a long ways in the past 5 years.
Totally. Good. Okay. So I actually got that. Yeah, the last time I had you guys on the stream, y'all were talking about that M17 module from, I think it's LilyGo.
LilyGo.
Yep.
That goes on the back of the FTM6000 Yaesu radio. Yep. And I got that, and then I never got you guys back on the stream. I never did anything with it. So I've still got that somewhere. We needed to do that one of these days.
You need to tee him up with TO.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. He has done that.
Yep.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, maybe I will do that. Okay. Good deal. Okay. Well, thank you, Steve. That's good information. So, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Let me make sure that is. I'm going to make sure that's better right there.
It's VK5 DGR.
Oh, that's Dave Rowe. Yes.
Okay.
DGR.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Great. Okay. So this guy right here. Let me make sure. Oh no, I'm trying to get my. Oh, there we go. Okay, that's better. Trying to get make sure it's that you guys aren't washed out on the background. So this guy right here, we can switch back over here This is my Bridgecom Skybridge Plus Hotspot, and I had Ed, Steve, and Chip on a while back, and we discussed the WPSD operating system / application, whichever one it is, for hotspots. That's kind of like an upgrade to Pi-Star, and it comes with M17 built in. In fact, let me switch over to this right here, and this is my dashboard for the hotspot that's running right now. And you see we've got it set up from DMR. That's just the last thing I used it on. It's on 433.450, but it's got M17 over on the side over here and M17 net on the network status, on the mode status. So we're going to switch that here in just a minute. But Steve, I'd like you to take us through what to do. This is a fresh out-of-the-box radio. And it's already flashed for M17. You can see right, hopefully that focuses. There we go. M17 # all or hashtag all, whatever you want to say with that. And do you have to, I guess my main question when I first pulled it out is, they have a CPS on the Connect Systems website that says it's for DMR, because you can flash this with a DMR firmware and it'll do DMR and analog, or you can flash it with an M17 firmware and I guess it just does the digital, it doesn't do analog. Is that correct? Or
so I'll be honest with you, I have not messed with anything regarding DMR on this radio.
Okay.
If you program channels on through the CPS on that radio, it's only going to work for DMR. It's not going to show up in the M17 side. So
Okay.
right now it's just manual VFO programming.
But will it do analog?
M7,
If you have it flashed with M17 firmware, will it also do analog?
yes.
Oh, it will. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
I think, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I think the CTCSS is also working on that. So you should
Okay.
be able to at least activate a repeater using the radio in analog as well. So
Okay. That's good. That's good, because it was a little bit I don't want to call it misleading, but it was a little bit ambiguous on the Connect Systems website, because it sounded like you flashed it with DMR and you get analog, you flash it with M17 and you get M17.
So if you actually hold the side top button,
side top button, this one
Yeah,
up above the PTT.
Yep. So you press and hold it, it'll lock the macro menu open, and if you push the
Okay.
number 5, it will switch you into analog.
Ah, there it is. Yeah, and there's a CTCSS, the top one.
Yep.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
just pressing 5 again will put you back into M17. And to close the menu, you can either, well, I think you have to push the button again, the top button.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, we're back to the VFO screen there. Okay, good.
Mhm.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So let's set up M17. Well, let's set it up on the hotspot first, so that we can see this right here.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna go in. I don't think I've even logged into this yet. So let me see. Pi-Star. This is very secure. Pi-Star and Raspberry is the password.
Don't give out your password.
I gave out Chip's password, actually. So we're going to go over here to, I think it's, configuration. That's it.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to go down here, and I'm going to turn DMR off and turn M17 on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to apply changes. Now, explain real quick, one of you, if y'all don't mind. M17 what do you call the talk groups? Reflectors, talk groups, Yaesu System Fusion rooms.
Module.
What does M17 call their rooms or whatever?
So if you're familiar with D-Star and reflectors, and
Yes.
you get different modules on reflectors, M17 is modeled after that same system. It
Okay.
uses, so the M17 reflector system is a subset of XLX, which is again a subset of D-Star reflector systems.
Okay.
M17 reflectors have 26 modules. We call them modules. So it goes through A through Z. So each M17 reflector can have 26 different concurrent channels, and they don't talk to each other, but you can have different channels set for different things on a single reflector.
So like D-Star has like 2 Alpha, 2 Bravo, 2 Charlie, 2 Delta, and all that.
Yep.
That's what you're talking about with modules.
Yep.
Yeah,
So in
okay,
M17, it will be M17 dash reflector designator and then module letter. So for example, the one that we use here for M17 is obviously M17 dash M17, and then the popular module that we use is Charlie.
M17 Charlie. Okay.
Yep. And as a matter of fact, in WPSD, that is the default reflector that you are connected to.
Okay.
As soon as you connect up. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So that's what that's what I'm seeing right here on the screen is, yeah, it came up. All I did was turn M17 on. And if you guys looked, when I went back to the dashboard, they were red. It took, I don't know, 5 or 10 seconds and both of them connected. So now they're both, the network status and the module status are both green.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we've got M17 and there's a bunch of them in here.
208 as of the last count that we have.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
And then with all of those, you can go A through Z, I guess. You said 26, right? That makes sense. Okay. Okay. Well, that's quite a bit of rooms and reflectors or whatever you want to call it. So, okay. The call sign suffix is just like if I have multiple hotspots connected.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Station ID.
Think of that as an SSID. It's just an additional identifier for your call sign.
Okay. And then M17 CAN, C-A-N.
Yep. That's a channel access number. You can think of it like a CTCSS,
but
for repeaters.
Gotcha. Okay. So we don't need that for a hotspot necessarily.
If you had multiple hotspots using similar frequencies in an area, then yes, you would change the CAN for, you would have this hotspot on CAN 0, this hotspot on CAN 1. You can have them set to different reflectors and everything.
Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. So so I didn't change anything there. I'm going to go back to the dashboard. Actually, I think, So up here at the dashboard, it shows me 433.45 is my frequency. I'm in simplex mode, so it's there's no offset. Let's see, all that gives me the Skybridge firmware. Okay, so that's what we're going to do there. And now I'm going to go back over here, and I've got it on speaker presentation on Zoom. So Ed, when you start talking, it'll switch back to you. Just FYI, I didn't hide you on purpose.
Oh, it's all good.
David wants to know what whiskey I'm drinking. This is just TX bourbon. See, there you go. Big fancy ice cube in the middle there. So
TX stands for Texas, Steve.
That's where it's made.
Oh,
so yeah.
Texas.
Yeah, I was a detective.
Where is Texas?
It's a place where we know how to pronounce the word car correctly.
How about coffee?
Coffee. Yeah, coffee.
I keep telling the story about how I had to drive from East Texas all the way over to El Paso. So I went from Louisiana all the way to El Paso, and it took 2.5 days. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Bob used to give DMR presentations or help me with my DMR presentations, and I would talk to him about how the way he pronounces talk group. I'm like, what the hell is a talk group? So yeah, but yeah, it's about it's probably about Louise. You said so that's Shreveport. From Shreveport to El Paso is probably 15-16 hours with no stops.
Yeah.
Like that.
I had my mother with me, so I had to stop every 8 hours, and yeah.
Okay. All right.
Sit for 8 hours.
We traded off. I'd drive 4 and she'd drive 4.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that's better than driving the whole way yourself, I guess.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to put this 443-450. No, it's 433.
So yeah. Okay. So 433-450.
Uh-huh.
And for some reason, it asks for, resolution to the fourth digit after the decimal. So
right.
Yeah,
I noticed that.
The quick way to get around it is that if there's a 0 in that spot, you can just hit OK and it will switch to the next field.
Okay. And
then you can just hit OK again if it's simplex.
Right. Yeah, because it asks you to set the which is easy if you're gonna eventually use an M17 repeater. That'd be an easy way to do it. Just set the transmit as a plus or minus 5 offset for UHF. Good.
Right.
Okay, so we're on 433-450 now. Okay, so what? Okay, so I want to, and somebody KC8 PFF just keyed up, Chris, and I'm looking at that on my dashboard here to my hotspot. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So he just keyed up, and so I would hopefully be able to hear him here in a minute. But what do I need to do? What's the next step on the radio?
Do you have your call sign programmed into it?
I did do that, actually, yes. I was just kind of poking around through the menu, and I'm like, oh, it says call sign, and it was set to, like, I don't know, zeros or something. But, yes, I did do that, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's the most important part is that you got to put your call sign in, just like any other digital mode. The only one that's an exception is DMR. You use a radio ID, but
Right.
that's one of the features of the M17 is that you don't need to sign up for an ID or anything like that. Your call sign is your identifier, and currently there is no system to deny access for anybody, so it's an open system. So as long as you have a valid call sign, it will pass through a reflector without any issue.
Okay. Yeah, so here's, I couldn't remember how I get there, but here we do. So if we hit the OK button on this radio, and I can hear people chunking the system.
Yep.
We go down to settings, and we go to M17, and the three options are call sign, CAN, and CAN RX check.
Yeah, CAN RX check is a promiscuous mode. So if you don't know the CAN that a repeater or another radio is using, you turn that on, and it will tell you which channel access number is in use.
Okay, that's good. It's this more like a if the CAN is this like a CTSS scanner then.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Okay. So yeah. So I have my call sign in, and people are chunking the system. I assume that they're going to wait for me to. I assume these are people that are watching us live. I don't know.
I'd assume so. Yeah. I don't know. The reflectors had some pretty good activity over the past couple of days because of Pacificon.
Oh, okay. Did you guys do a presentation there or something?
I unfortunately was unable to make it out there this year. But Jonathan G4KLX, he was out there with Jim from Zoom Radio.
Oh yeah, Jonathan Naylor. Sure, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, good deal. Good. Okay, cool. So what's next?
Push your PTT and talk.
Okay, so I don't have to do anything on the radio except program the frequency.
I mean, I would be a little bit further away from the hotspot, so not overloading the front end. But
well, I can do that. But my point is that programming was awfully fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as possible that you can make it. Aside from setting channels, that's the only limitation that we currently have is that we can't create channels on the radio just yet. But as long as you know the frequency that your repeater or hotspot are on, it's just a matter of putting in your call sign, setting the CAN, and putting the frequency in.
So we can't save this. So this is a VFO right here that I can change by just pushing up and down on this button. But I can't save this as a channel in the radio?
Not yet.
Okay.
At least I haven't been able to figure it out.
Progress.
I'm sorry, Ed, say that again, Ed?
I said the firmware is a work in progress.
Right. Okay.
OpenRTX is working on the firmware, and they're updating it as quick as they can. Okay.
Well, no problem. Hey, it's working. That's... the last time I had you guys on the show, we were talking about who was going to be the first HT, and y'all talked about that icon that you can buy and sort of hack up or something.
Yep.
And then there was a guy that was taking some of the TYT radios, and he was making physical hardware changes to it, and I tried to buy one of those, and I think he got overwhelmed. He ended up refunding my money. He's like, I can't keep up with the man, so I'm not going to do this. Yeah. So this is the actual first RF producing radio that I've had that'll do M17.
Yeah, it's the first I guess you could say the first official commercial off-the-shelf radio that you can buy with M17. Yeah.
Now, if I wanted to do is there? Let me word it this way: is there an official Simplex module? And if you and I were at a Hamfest together and we didn't have a hotspot or didn't want to use it, is there an official Simplex frequency or module that we would talk on?
For region 2, it's the same digital frequency that is in use for DMR, D-Star, basically any Simplex digital voice mode. Okay. Region 1 does have a specific frequency. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I think it's somewhere in the 433 range, but here in the States it's the same digital frequency that everybody else uses for Simplex.
But what module would we use? Because if I'm on one module, you're on the other, we wouldn't be able to talk, right? No.
You can go direct to another HT without needing the internet or anything like that.
No, I understand that. Let me. I'm talking to you with DMR knowledge here. Okay, so if you set up a DMR radio on a specific time slot and talk group on Simplex,
so like DMR's talk group 9,
99. Right. Okay. 99 is the Simplex talk group. 9 is usually local repeater. So But if I'm on talk group 99 and you're on talk group 3148, even though we're on a simplex frequency with no offset, we wouldn't be able to hear each other.
So turn the screen back on your radio.
Okay, sure. Okay.
You see how it says, I hate using the term hashtag, but it says hashtag all, right?
Yes, correct.
So that is your broadcast, and I say that with air quotes, broadcast destination. So what you're seeing on the radio right now is M17 is the mode, and then hashtag all is the destination.
Okay.
So what you're doing is you're transmitting your call to any radio that is willing to receive it. So there's no real idea of talk group or module or anything when you're doing simplex. It's basically you either have the all destination or a specific call sign or a specific target, such as a reflector.
Okay, so if I was to, so I can do direct to your call sign if you and I were standing near one another?
Hypothetically, yes. I have not tested this because I only have one of these radios.
Okay. All right, so we would just need to figure out in the software how to change that all to something else.
So if you actually push the pound button or pound button, that's how you can change your destination. And it's T9 text input, just like an old cell phone. So you could put in,
I see,
ZXQ, and then you just press the OK button, and that locks it in. And to reset it, you just push the pound key twice.
Okay. So if I just want, could I put M17 in there so I'm just transmitting on the M17 module and it would still work on the hotspot?
So your hotspot will take the all and send it through to the reflector by being connected to a reflector. So you don't have to do anything on the radio. Right.
Okay. All right. Well, good to, so in theory, I could either call your call sign if we're close enough together, or we could just choose a reflector to meet on, and we could do pound 123, and as long as we're both on pound 123, we could hear each other. If I'm understanding you correctly, that's what I'm trying to do.
So the destination would have to be an actual valid target, meaning that it would have to be a valid call sign or valid reflector that you want to talk to through your hotspot. If you're going simplex, then you would want to put in somebody's call sign, or you would put in someone's call sign or a reflector that you want to talk to. So if you actually, since you're connected to M17-M17 Charlie, you could type in M17-123 space A, and then your your hotspot would automatically switch over to that reflector. And then you would just, either remain on that or push the pound sign twice, get back to all, and then you'll be talking on that new reflector. But if you're going simplex, you would need to have a valid target to talk to. So it would have to be somebody else's call sign or a radio setup with a different target altogether. So it would have to be, you would have to know that person's call sign in advance.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. That makes sense. Okay, good. It was so N5RFX just keyed up, and I was hearing him. So let me. I'm going to throw my call sign out here and see what happens. So move that a little bit away.
Hopefully my repeater's working.
Haha. KC5 HWB, Grapevine, Texas. Testing 1 2 3 4 5.
I think we heard you through Ed's All-Star.
Hello, Jason. This is Mark, N5RFX.
Okay, that was Mark, N5R, and that's really clean audio. Let me switch over to this real quick. Okay, Mark, good evening. N5RFX from KC5HWB. Sounding good out here, man.
Good. Yeah, I've been on M17 now for about for a while now, and so I am interested in getting my Connect Systems radio. I've been waiting a very long time for it.
Okay. He's in Flower Mound. He's like 2 towns away from me.
Very interested in getting my Connect Systems radio. I pre-ordered mine a long time ago, so I am really interested in getting it. I'm anxious So hopefully I'll get it next month.
Well, I hope so. I just got an email. I've been on Jerry's email list for a long, long time, and I just got an email from him like 2 weeks ago, something like that, and I just ordered one. So I don't know. I don't know how he's shipping out orders in order or not. Don't say anything. I mean, he didn't know I didn't ask him for one. I was just like, hey, I'm just going to order one, and I just ordered it. I don't even know if he realized it was going on the air or not, but
he had a handful of them up at Pacificon too. So
did he? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So maybe
Well, hey,
Mark ordered the Plus version.
Oh, they ordered the Plus version. Okay, so yeah, I was told that one would take longer. Okay, Mark, good deal. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is the non-Plus version that I got. I wanted the Plus version, but since it wasn't ready yet, I switched it. So good to hear you, man. The audio on this sounds terrific. That's the difference. Is the Plus version. I'll probably grab one of those when they're ready as well, because it'll do everything. So, well, that's awfully simple to set up and go. I mean,
it almost seems dangerously simple.
Yes, it really does. It really does. So, you've got 26 different modules inside of how many different reflectors did you say there were?
There is 208. I'll send you the link for the. Oh, hold on. My Droid Star is acting up.
Oh, that's fine.
I'll send you a link here for the reflector page, and you can look up all the reflectors that are available.
Okay.
So
wow.
Steve,
okay.
there's a question in the chat.
Yes.
Can you create an ad hoc private Simplex group for an event?
In the sense that it would be as private as an analog channel in use, yes. Just pick a frequency and go direct, using M17 rather than anything else. There's no, I mean, you could switch the channel access number, kind of give yourself the CTCSS functionality, but as far as having something private, obviously that's outside the scope of amateur radio. It would have to be a channel in use, specific for whatever event that you're doing. But yeah, I mean, you could, to make it a whole lot simpler, you could put a reflector on a Raspberry Pi and connect that up with a radio, or connect it up with, I'm sorry, not a radio, connect hotspots into it, or something like that, and just basically have your own reflector. But again, as if you're using RF, it's not going to be private unless you set something like the channel access number. But even then, it's no more private than an analog channel with CTCSS.
Right. Yeah. I've often told people they should get on 220 or 6 meter FM Simplex at a Hamfest, because nobody else is there. I mean, you could almost have a private channel that way, and it's totally open, but anybody can do it, but nobody uses it. So yeah, in that regard, I can see what you're saying. Okay, good. Yeah, I forgot to say in the beginning, we don't have Frank tonight. He's at a family event. So thank you for watching the chat, Ed. Appreciate that. So if you guys have any questions, okay, was that Alan's?
That is the new Frank.
Oh, yeah, it is the new Frank. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Ooh.
So that question was from Grayman Poda, but
that's okay. That was Tim. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Alan has a question in regards to the module 1.0.
Mm-hmm.
I've been for a substitute list of parts. I guess JLC PCB has a shortage of some of the parts.
So the best option is to wait for those parts to come in, or order the parts from somewhere else, and source the parts from somewhere else, such as Mauser or DigiKey or something like that. And JLC PCB will take those parts, or they can order them on your behalf. I don't suggest replacing parts with equivalents unless you understand that this is an RF device and there's a bunch of timing that has to be considered, such as, the crystals, the actual stability of the crystals, the tolerances on all the parts, etc., were picked specifically for this module. So swapping out the parts, sure, you can do it if you can find an equivalent with the same tolerance and rating. But I would wait. Unfortunately, a lot of the issues that we've run into are for op amps and digital potentiometers. So the 1.0 module has an option for both. You can either use a multi-turn potentiometer or a digital potentiometer, one or the other. So if you can't find the digital ones, use the analog ones. If you can't find the analog ones, use the digital ones. I have to say that I'm sorry. I don't have a alternative to talk about, because again, the parts were picked and engineered for specifically their use. So swapping them out, you do at your own risk. Source them elsewhere. It might be a little bit more expensive. Hopefully another manufacturer will take on the new 1.0 version for us, such as LilyGo when they did it with the 0.1 module.
Yeah.
But I don't have any information on whether or not they're going to. So, I mean, take it all with a grain of salt. You do you. I mean, it is an open source project. If you do find an alternate, you can go ahead and put a pull request in for the repository, and we can add it in as an alternative if it works.
Good. Okay. Good info. Ed, AC3IK, very loyal follower and attends every live stream that I do. Why is there a D after some of the call signs? He's just curious.
So D stands for it originally stood for dongle. Back when D-Star was starting to get those dongles, since it was Alpha Bravo Charlie for the different types of frequency that you could get onto a repeater and link up with. D was kind of used as a dongle user. So when you had like the DV dongle or those old what are the DV I forget the name of it, but the little red and blue DV dongle things that you could plug into a computer had an antenna on it. It was like
Northwest Digital had one. Yeah.
So D kind of stood for dongle, to let you know that it was a dongle user.
Yeah.
It could also mean D for DroidStar if somebody's using DroidStar.
Okay.
But the suffix after the call sign, it's a purely vanity thing. Ed actually has one in his hand right there. Yeah, the old D-Star
DV access point dangle.
Yeah,
dongle.
the dongle.
DVAP.
Yeah, access point. DVAP. Yes.
DVAP. Yeah.
Yep.
Put that up there in front of the camera again, Ed. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. So back then it used to mean dongle for dongle user. It has a more colorful term internally to the project, but it's not appropriate. It isn't. But needless to say, it's probably somebody not using RF.
Okay. Somebody coming in through, like Ed did at, where was that, Tapper or Hamside that you guys were at a couple years ago, where he was running the net through a computer system, through that.
The Raspberry Pi 400?
Right, the Pi 400. Yeah, because you didn't have RF at the time. So, because it wasn't available. Cool. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. M-Voice. That was it.
Yes.
Yeah. The M-Voice. Yeah. On Raspbian or Linux, whenever it was. Okay. Good. Okay. Let's see. WX50U says we have an M17 repeater right across the street from the Greene County Hamfest building, which that might be fun. Greene County Hamfest is the largest hamfest in the state of Oklahoma. It happens in a little town called Claremore outside of Tulsa, and I believe it's in April. I've been to it a couple times. It's a good show. I didn't make it this year, but Prep and Paul, thank you for the gift of membership.
So, Jason, our friends there in Oklahoma, they run a M17 net every Saturday afternoon, I think 1 p.m. your time.
Different than your net?
Yeah, they have a Saturday net.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Lots of M17 usage there in Oklahoma.
Good. I wasn't aware there were any actual repeaters up yet, but apparently that's... Well, I mean, it makes sense. Now that WPSD supports it so easily, that makes sense that people are putting repeaters up, I guess. I didn't really think about that, but that's a good point.
If you check Repeater Book, I think there's 42 current M17 repeaters listed.
Okay.
Most of them are in Europe. There's a handful in the U.S.
I am in the process, and when I say I'm in the process, what I actually mean is it's in the back of my mind, so I haven't actually started anything yet, of building a mobile ham shack. And when I do this, I was going through kind of a list of what I'm going to put in. When I got the idea from Bill K0WHW, he's Ham Radio Tectonics, and I have this Bridgecom repeater that has a Pi Star on the back of it, and my HB Link server failed on me, like, I don't know, 3 months ago, something like that. That's just the software just kind of foobarred, in which it, okay, whatever. I needed to update it probably. But rather than messing with that, because I didn't really get on that much anymore anyway, to connect it to, connect it to DMR, I was thinking about making an all-star repeater out of it, which I probably will do, actually. I'm going to put this in my mobile ham shack. I got a 100 amp repeater amplifier to it. Shh, don't tell anybody. But yeah, I'm probably going to run a mobile all-star repeater, but it could totally be dual purpose and dual use and run M17 as well. So it would be fun to do that. I think it'd be really fun to do that. So
Steve, the New Hampshire repeater is Bridgecom, right?
Yeah, the one that I have here at the lab is a Bridgecom. It was a DMR repeater. It's now a multi-mode repeater, because if you buy a Bridgecom digital DMR repeater, it is WPSD that's installed on it.
Right.
So you can run any digital mode on it.
Correct.
It's just out of the box. It's set up for DMR.
It's actually an analog repeater with a what used to be Pi Star, but WPSD attached to it's got a very easy port interface in the back. So it's easy to set up all-star analog on that repeater as well. Those repeaters are very versatile.
Yeah.
So I wish mine was 220. Mine's 440. I would like to have a 220 repeater instead, but it's a great repeater. I've had really good luck with mine. I just run mine at low power and it works great. So yeah, good. Okay. So that might be a thing coming up. All right. So Alan asked a question. In the parts list, can switches be individually placed on file when removing for HMI, then cannot select to have JLC PCB solder on? I don't understand what he's asking, but maybe you do.
I think he's asking if we can omit the switches if you're using the HMI board. So there's two boards on the module 17 version 1.0. It's classically still the same that you would have for the version 0.1. It still has the switches and a place for the screen and everything like that. But when you have the module 1.0, you can also put another board on top of the board that exists for the RF side. Well, I say the RF side, the baseband side. It's basically just got a slightly larger screen and a capacitive touchpad instead of the switches. So you have the option of running it either with or without the HMI board. And if you order the board, I think by default, the switches do come installed and soldered on. But if you tell JLC PCB to omit them, they should be able to. There is no real reason to have those switches on there if you're going to use the HMI board. But if you're not, then obviously having the switches on would help out, because you would need some sort of input interface anyway. I don't know if you can tell JLC PCB to directly take them off the BOM, or if they come back at you when you tell them to omit them, then just tell them, look, I don't need those switches. I can solder them on myself if I have them. They're just tactile button switches. They're nothing special. Those parts could probably be swapped out if you need to. If you don't need them, then I think they can be omitted. I just haven't done that personally through JLC PCB. I just had them ordered and made as they were out of the BOM. BOM as in bill of materials, not like.
It's the bomb. Okay. WX50U Oklahoma M17 net is on Saturdays, 12 noon, which that's going to be Central Time, so UTC -5 currently until the time changes again, on M17-OKL Alpha.
Yes.
So
yep, I've been on it a couple times.
Okay.
Great set of people out there.
I will put that on my Google Calendar so I'll remember it. And that'll be a fun thing to check into now that I can. Right there. So yeah, good deal. Okay, I mean, I've used Invoice a couple of times, but I just like, this is ham radio. I like the idea of having an RF access to something, because I love it when I get it's a love-hate thing. I love it when I get the comments on any of my videos that talk about how DMR is not real because it requires internet. No, it doesn't. Yaesu System Fusion, it requires how are you digital guys going to communicate when an emergency hurricane comes through? I'm like, through Simplex, the way you do with any other freaking radio in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So people don't get that, and that's okay. That's part. But I mean, I feel like I've said it till I'm blue in the face, and I'm happy for people to ask questions. But when you come by and make accusations while having your head up your ass, that's a different thing than asking a question. So that's my personal opinion. May you might yeah sad hands.
Yeah, is that a Randolfo shirt?
So now this is a good question. So Life and Death, that's his YouTube name. He's been in the chat a lot as well. Life and Death. This is a good question. Okay. Cue me in. With so many digital modes, is M17 better sound quality? Is it higher compression? What does M17 do to justify another digital mode? I have my own opinion about that.
Question.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you might. So you go right ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
So a lot of people will ask this based on, why should we use M17? Is it better quality audio? That's subjective. To me,
I just listened to it for about a minute and a half, and I think that it is.
To me,
so more testing is required.
I personally find the voice codec to be easier to understand. With D-Star, you get a lot of what they call that R2D2 when you get on the fringes of the frequency, or the edge of the repeater kind of thing. It kind of falls off. You get R2D2. DMR, if you've ever listened to public safety on DMR through a scanner or anything like that, it is damn near impossible to understand half the things that they're saying, because either they're whispering into the mic or they're got the mic right, or whatever. I mean, yeah, sure, that's probably operating etiquette that's causing those problems, but the voice codec is not really, to my ear, it doesn't sound good. Codec 2 has a bit more fidelity as far as, Wojciech likes to use the word sibilance. So those S sounds and everything like that, they come out a little bit clearer. So as far as the voice codec is concerned, it is subjective. Personally, I find it a whole lot better. But the real reason that M17 exists is because it is an amateur radio digital mode created by amateur radio for amateur radio. It is not a commercial entity creating a digital mode. It is not a commercial digital mode that's being shoehorned into amateur radio. M17 is completely open source, and it is designed for amateur radio, and it's designed for people to hack and modify and make better, rather than wait for some commercial entity to put in the features that you want, or be laden to a commercial protocol that is not designed for amateur radio. DMR was never designed for amateur radio. It was designed as a commercial radio, public safety radio by the European telecommunications ETSI, ETSI. P25 was designed for, it was an APCO protocol that was developed for public safety. NXDN was a commercial radio protocol. M17 is a radio protocol that is designed by and for amateur radio, open source, to be hacked, to be modified, to be made better by people in amateur radio. People will argue that System Fusion is an amateur radio protocol. It isn't. It's C4FM. It's P25. It has just been modified for use in amateur radio, and it is designed and developed by Yaesu. You are locked into Yaesu by to use that protocol. You have to buy a Yaesu radio. You have to buy a Yaesu repeater in order for it to be effective. M17, you could build this radio protocol into any radio that will accept it, or even design your own radio to use the M17 protocol. This is why we have a commercial radio that has M17 built into it, because a commercial radio manufacturer was saying, hey, we need a new protocol. We need something new. They built M17 in there. There's no licensing that's required other than the open source licensing. There is no cost to somebody building in our protocol into their equipment. So that's the most attractive part, most attractive part for people that want to sell something without having to buy a license. With DMR, with Fusion, with well, probably not D-Star anymore, but with NXDN and P25 Tier 2, you have to buy a license from DVSI in order to use their voice codec. People will say, oh, well, patent's expiring. Well, the patent hasn't expired. As a matter of fact, has been extended until November
Well, the newest
2026,
yes.
I think.
Something like that. And the newest D-Star radios are using MB3000.
Right.
The D75 is using MB3000. So,
but it's still using the old IMBE AMBE
correct.
codec.
That's correct.
AMBE plus
that's
2.
why it doesn't. That's why it doesn't sound as good.
Right.
But yes, yeah, you're right. And that was a DVSI product as well.
Yep.
So everything, every digital voice mode we have seen so far, except for maybe NXDN. I'm not 100% certain on NXDN.
Oh, no, they use MB2 plus.
Okay.
Plus
okay.
2, yeah.
So it's all been DVSI licensed.
Yeah.
Which is a commercial company and licensing structure. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even though people are saying, the patent's going to expire, that doesn't mean the copyright expires. The copyright still exists on the code for DVSI's voice codec. Unless somebody writes an open source version of that voice codec after the patent expires, you're still laden to the copyright by DVSI, and they can sell that however they want. It's the thing that I like to drive home so much is that M17 is open source. It is by hams for hams. BHFH, remember FUBU? I mean, this is but ham radio, by ham radio for ham, for hams, not only hams. What? Anyway. So yeah, it's definitely an amateur radio protocol designed by amateur radio, and that's the driving force behind us, is that we want to make sure that everything is still bringing that idea of build it yourself and do it yourself that amateur radio was based on. Back in the 50s and 60s, when amateur radio was getting started, everybody was building their own radios. You'd go out, buy a Hallicrafter kit, build it, get on the air, or you build your own radio out of tubes and wire. We're bringing that back. We don't want to be burdened by having to purchase a radio that's made commercially with a commercial protocol in it. We want to be able to have a open source radio with an open source protocol, so that an amateur radio can take it apart. An amateur radio operator can take it apart, modify it, put it back together, and be on their merry way with whatever they want. So I'm very passionate about this, if you can tell.
No, that's a terrific answer. I love everything you said about that answer. John Nelson in the chat's asking what commercial radio exists. I assume you just joined us, so welcome. Thank you for joining the live stream. This is a Connect Systems CS7000. So it's made by a commercial company and commercially for sale by a for-profit company, but it contains the M17 protocol. In fact, when before the live stream started, Steve was asking me if I'd flashed the M17 firmware, and because I just got this radio like 4 days ago. As soon as I got this radio in the mail, I hit up Ed and Steve in Discord. There's an M17 Discord if you guys want to learn more about that. We can share that link here in just a minute. But I hit them up in Discord. I'm like, I need you guys to come on to the stream whenever you're available, and we're going to talk about this radio and work it through the hotspot. But this is a radio that I purchased that has the M17 protocol in it, and it had the firmware flashed to it already when I got it. Because Steve said, he goes, oh, it's probably flashed with DMR, and I turned it on. He goes, nope, you've got M17 right there. I didn't have to do anything. So I opened the box, charged it. It was the battery's a little bit low. I charged it, turned it on, programmed my hotspot, and we were on the air just a few minutes ago. So it's very, in fact, there's...
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. That's working. I've received your transmission.
That first guy had a terrible signal, but that last guy sounded pretty good. So I think I've only been listening to... Oh, there's Ed, AC3IK right there. I've only been listening to it for the last 30 minutes that we've been doing this, and I can already tell you it sounds fantastic. So I'm going to have to kind of listen to it over the next few days and kind of monitor some stuff. I'm interested to see what kind of activity is on there. So yeah, but John, thank you for joining us. Good question though. So I have a personal pet peeve. I agree with everything you just said, Steve. I totally agree with that. Okay. I used to get frustrated with people when they said they didn't like DMR because it wasn't made for amateur radio, oh, well, Yaesu System Fusion was made for amateur radio. D-Star was made for amateur radio. I'm like, well, I really, really, really hope you're not a CW operator, because CW and Morse code were not made for amateur radio. In fact, neither was FM and AM originally. So I just it kind of irks me. I was like, you know what? I mean, if that's your only reason, then seriously, really? You're just going to use Fusion and get up all your CW and HF stuff because it wasn't made for amateur radio? So I don't know. That's just something I thought of. But
no,
I like it.
And I understand that. It's just you know, but back when CW was in its heyday, that was the only way of communicating. You know,
Correct.
You didn't have FM and AM. I mean, essentially with CW, it is kind of AM, but you know,
sort of,
but you know, until those really came out, you know, CW was the only method of communication. And
correct.
You know, it to be 100% honest, Morse code or CW was originally a commercial thing. It was was it Western Union kind of basically made it like the thing,
right?
You know, but you know, it was adopted by amateur radio, sure, but and
well, it's just, I mean, I used to tell people that DMR was made for a commercial world. Hams took it and made it better, because we used to have that worldwide net, and DMR was never meant to work across the pond, across the ocean, as a North America. It was made for a county or a city to use in a local area for a local radio comms. And it's great because DMR is dual time slot. And so you can use two voice transmissions on the same channel at the same time, same frequency, same time. They don't crash into one another. Fusion does that too, except Fusion uses half of its time slot to send GPS data. So you're on a 6.25 voice channel, while GPS data is transmitting on the other 6.25 data channel to make up the 12.5 total narrowband channel. Or you can switch it to VW for voice wide on Fusion, which takes up the whole 12.5 narrowband channel. But I mean, so it kind of does the same thing.
Well, I mean, M17 does it even better.
Okay, explain how that, because I don't know. How does that work? Tell me.
M17 is a 9 kilohertz wide channel. It's M17 is FDMA, frequency division multiple access. It uses a 9 kilohertz wide channel, but the data is sent in tandem in the frames that are going over RF. So we don't need to split the voice and data like Fusion does, where they have 6.5 or 6 1/4 and 6 1/4.
Right.
M17 uses the whole 9 kilohertz wide channel for both the voice and streaming digital data. So in the packets, in the frames that are going over RF, is actual metadata included. So the voice codec that so we have a 4800 bit per second transfer rate over the air. 3200 of that is for voice. It is the codec to 3200 BPS voice mode.
Okay.
The extra, what is it, 1600 bits? Yeah, I think it's 1600 bits is used for metadata. So things like encryption, GPS positioning, slow text data, like D-Star has slow text data, you know, M17 can do slow text data. Any sort of metadata that you want to add in on top of that voice stream is possible with not having to increase the bandwidth of the channel or separate out specific parts of the channel for the voice stream and data stream. So
is the total channel only 9 kilohertz instead of 12.5 then?
Yes. It is still considered a 12.5 channel because there is no 9 kilohertz wide,
frequency
channel
split. Yeah. Okay.
Just like there isn't a 6.25 for amateur radio. Amateur radio can still use 25 kilohertz or 24
Correct.
kilohertz.
Yes.
We can still use voice wide channels. But M17 has the ability, or M7, it's not the ability. M17 is 9 kilohertz wide, so it'll fit into a 12.5 channel. There was an idea of being able to use the extra sideband or the extra frequency space that we have on a 12.5 kilohertz channel to also transmit analog. So a repeater would be able to transmit a simultaneous M17 data as well as analog voice on the same channel and have it so that a radio that is properly configured for this to be able to receive an analog channel, even though somebody might be transmitting M17. It's kind of weird physics, and it's a little bit more science than I know off the top of my head, but the idea is there.
Okay.
So we have a little bit of extra bandwidth that we can kind of squeeze some stuff into if we wanted to, because we know that it's going to be that 9 kilohertz wide, the 2.4 plus minus deviation on either side of the center. So we still have some bandwidth on the edges, kind of like if you've seen like the HD radio signals that FM broadcasters have. If you look at like the center channel frequency, you'll see the FM obviously, but either side you've got the digital data for HD radio on that same channel. So it's 250 kilohertz wide, but you have those sidebands that are on the same channel that is doing the HD radio. I was kind of reversing that. So the digital data would be in the center and the FM would be on the sides.
Yeah.
Kind of an interesting thing to think about, but I don't know if it would be physically possible yet.
Yeah. I would like, we were at the park yesterday, as I mentioned earlier, and 20 meters was just chock full of people between Support Your Parks weekend, a lot of people out at parks. The Jamboree on the Air was yesterday, and apparently the New York CUSO party was also yesterday, which I didn't know. I just was tuning around, and a lot of people were calling CQ CUSO party. Well, there was a couple of people on 14.230, and they were getting covered up by. They're like, "Yeah, there's some digital noise." I'm like, "Dude, that's the Slow Scan TV station." So we put our phones on top of my radio, just kind of listened, and we were getting all kinds of really cool pictures coming. So you're sitting there talking about an extra like 3 kilohertz, and I'm like, "Do some Slow Scan TV over that. That'd be awesome."
That's not a bad idea.
I mean,
you know,
some kind of like low res image transmission while you're keyed up on the frequency. That might be kind of fun. So
sending memes over HD,
right? Well, that's all Slow Scan TV is anymore.
Yeah, right.
It's just memes over the air. That's all it is.
It's because of Josh.
He has, he has a big hand in that. So yeah, I just, it's crazy. But there was some cool stuff coming over Slow Scan TV yesterday.
Yeah, shout out to the Ham Radio Village guys too. They do a lot of Slow Scan TV over there. They're a DEF CON group of Ham.
The DEF CON group, I know who those guys are. Sure, okay, sweet.
256 Quam. Don, if you hold your horses for a bit, you might see something. We were talking about using M17 over satellite. We have been able to get M17 through EchoStar 12, I think it is. Basically bent pipe, so you're just sitting there, transmitting and then hearing what's going on through the satellite. And all the tests went well. They went very, very well. So what we were kind of thinking about was doing RF trunking for repeaters. So repeaters could have multiple channels trunked up to a satellite using quadratary amplitude or something similar, whether it be 256 Quam or whatever else. I mean, we're starting to get into the whole realm of cable TV when we're talking about exotic modes like that. But something like that might come into the future.
All right. I lost it. Where did the question go?
No, I lost it a long time ago.
Oh yeah. Well, I never had it. So somebody was asking about setting up. Gosh, I just saw your question, and I looked it up, and I looked back at this corner. Okay, KE6GAE, the Hillbilly Ham. That's a great name, by the way.
Like it.
What reference would I connect to using my Yaesu radio for M17, as I don't have M17 right now? So this is what you want. And I need to get, and I've got one of these. I've got one of these in my possession, and I need to get Ed and Steve back on the show, so we can connect it and just kind of tinker around with it. This connects to the back of your Yaesu FTM 6000. And does it do any other radios besides that?
Anything that's 9600 baud capable.
Yeah, anything with the connector in the back.
Yeah.
So the Alinco radios?
No.
No, not the Alinco radios. Okay.
Unless you actually do the modification for it, because it is capable. Those Alinco radios are capable of 9600 baud, but it's that funky G5R UX or whatever. Funky 9600 baud like mode. The most important thing to know about M17 is that it requires a completely flat audio response on a radio. So basically that means discriminator tap and direct baseband input. And the radios that we have been successful with have been a lot of the ASU radios. A few of the Kenwood radios have been tested. All of the Motorola like CDM radios, the old wireless radios, those are wonderful for it.
What about the 9700?
The ICOM, no. So ICOM doesn't
Yeah.
have the flat audio coming out of the back of the radio.
Yeah.
Okay. I may or may not have just acquired a 9700 that I haven't opened yet. So
if you test it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I might kind of see what's going on with it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if I assume that radio has a port in the back of it.
I don't think there's a data port coming out of the ICOM.
Is there not? Okay, there might not be. So, I mean, all those Alinco monobands have it. That's why those were excellent radios for All-Star, because you get a repeater builder RIM Alinco device, you can plug it right in, plug it into a Raspberry Pi, and you're done. And those are fantastic systems. I have one sitting right there. But
so I think it's like the yellow wire mod or something like that needs to get done for the Alinco radios.
Okay.
To get them working with the flat audio.
Okay.
I mean, I got two of them here. I could tear them apart and figure it out.
A pot.
And yeah, I mean, you said anything with the port in the back, and the most popular one I think is the Alinco, because they're monoband, so they're less expensive, and they're multi-band. You can get a 2 meter, 6 meter, 2 meter, 220.
Pretty affordable.
That is true. And that's a newer radio. It's a newer radio, but that Yaesu FTM 6000, I keep that in a little man pack, and with my Edfong roll-up J-pole, and
there's your little data port that you need.
Yeah, that's it right there. So
that's your antenna.
So I take that little man pack radio with me every time I go to a show, and I set it up at the Hamfest at my campsite or wherever, and it's 50 watts into an Edfong roll-up J-pole that I put up at like 10 or 15 feet. It's a hell of a lot better than an HT. So I love that. I love that radio for what it is. But and I've been meaning to put that freaking that. In fact, I forgot I had that thing until I got this radio, and I hit you guys up in Discord the other day, and I'm like, wait a minute, I've got that M17 module from FTM 6000. I never did anything with it. So that's just another thing on the list that I need to do. But yeah, that's good. Okay. You guys share a link to your Discord if you don't mind. Send it to me in Zoom.
Yes.
And I'll put it in the chat here. So if you guys are interested in M17 and you're not on the M17 Discord, I'm on the M17 Discord. I don't get on there a whole lot, but I was on there talking to these guys about a week ago, talking about when I got that email from Connect Systems, and I said I ordered the Plus, and they're like, you don't want the Plus.
We jumped right on that.
Yeah, it's like you don't want the Plus because the firmware's not ready yet, and I'm like, well, it doesn't really say that, so it's a little ambiguous.
Yeah,
but,
we can't
right.
control what Jerry says.
Yeah, right. It's not your fault. It's not.
He's definitely staying on top of things when it comes to making sure that things are getting sent out. I mean,
you know what? He's the first guy to actually have an RF capable, commercially available M17 radio. So I'm not dogging him at all. So in fact, the CS7000 years ago, if you've been following Connect Systems for a while, the CS7000 was supposed to be a multi-mode DMR, D-Star, System Fusion P25 radio like 7, 8, 9 years ago. And then he scrapped that project because he figured out that it was hard to do. I jacked up my I jacked up my Zoom here. There we go. And now he's calling it the CS7000 M17, and I think it's great. I think it's great that he has an actual radio that will do M17 over RF. So I'm glad I bought this. Like I said a minute ago, it's a sturdy radio. It feels nice. I thought it was going to look like a TYT MD 2017 or MD 390. It doesn't look like that at all. It's a great feeling radio. It's a very well built, I think, and I'll see how well it works. I'm going to put it on the
antenna route for a BNC.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Well, and this longer antenna, I'll probably put like a stubby antenna on mine, like one of those squatty antennas, because I'm just using it to talk into the hotspot, which is right there.
Right.
I don't need a high range antenna on that. So this little bit better to do that. But I put links to this hotspot that has WPSD with M17 factory installed and this radio. I put links to both of those in the description of this video. So you guys go back and check the description of the video. There's links to both of those there. I don't get anything for this radio. I don't have, it's not an affiliate link or anything like that. In fact, Jerry didn't even know I was doing this live stream. Hopefully you guys all go bombard his website tomorrow and tell him that Ham Radio 2.0 sent you just because I like to do that. But I don't get anything for that. There's no affiliate commissions or anything like that at all. So
yeah, you get complaints when his website gets, DDoSed.
yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Any other questions from the chat?
Questions that we can answer.
Yeah. I don't know, Steve. You've gone over my head a couple times tonight. So
I've gone over my own head.
I think you're doing okay. Yeah. Okay. I didn't realize this. Maybe you can speak to this for a minute. Jody says, kudos on putting the OHIS port on Module 17.
Yes.
So you guys have the open headset standard port on it?
Yep. Mark Smith has been a huge help with getting all that straightened out. And actually, as a matter of fact, I have a couple of his kits right here for the open headset, do-it-yourself module that I need to test out. But yeah, we are, I think, the second second open source project to include the OHIS connector on a radio type device. Mark has been a huge supporter of M17. He was actually the one that created the whole idea for call sign encoding for us as well. So, his ideas have been put into the M17 spec. But when I saw that he had an open source headset interconnect thing, I said we need to put that into our project because these little clicky Baofeng, speaker mic things. It's so one of the things that I keep saying is garbage in, garbage out. You got garbage microphone, it's going to sound like garbage over the air. With the open headset interconnect standard, you can use any quality headset with the module 17, and it's a simple connection. You just plug your headset in and you're good to go. And so when they were redesigning the module 17, I really pushed for this, and there was a little bit of kickback, but we got everything straightened out, and it's working great.
Excellent. Yeah, I interviewed Mark on this show maybe a year ago, and a half ago, something like that. I saw something on QRZ about this open headset interconnect standard, I think is what it is. And I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. Or maybe I got an email about it, something like that. And I was like, hey, you want to come on the show and talk about it? So, and I'm like, that's kind of a neat sounding. It's a great idea if everyone adopts it. But and I'm glad to see you guys adopted that. That's great.
Yep.
So I need to pick up one of those kits. Now that I know it's available for this radio, I'll probably do that soon.
It's available for the module 17.
For the one that goes on my 6000?
Yep. For the version 1.0.
So for
it's
the
not
new
on
version.
the newest version of the module 17.
Version. Okay. I think that's the one I have.
No,
I don't.
Nope.
When did that come out?
It was released during Ham Radio Friedrichshafen. So when I was over there in Friedrichshafen, we released it.
Okay. And how does that differ from the one I have?
It's the one that has that HMI board that I was talking about that goes over the module and gets installed into a Hammond case. There's a bunch of traces that were redesigned, parts that were replaced for better parts, et cetera, et cetera. So
still
it's
from LilyGo?
No, LilyGo isn't manufacturing them, at least not that I'm aware of, and I don't know if they have any plans for that. Right now, it's still just an open source project that you would have to get boards made for by yourself.
Gotcha. Oh, okay. So they're not commercially available?
Not yet, no.
Okay. Good. Okay, cool. Just looking at the chat here. Okay, that's good. All right, well, cool, man. Hey, both of you guys, Ed and Steve, thanks for your time tonight. I like to keep. I think I told you guys when. Frank wanted. Speaking of Ed, Frank wanted me to print a picture of him and put it behind me tonight back here. So he's like, hey, print a picture of me, put it behind you, and see if anybody else.
I've got.
I saw a picture of somebody.
all of the team in Germany right there.
Okay.
And
Ed's got a picture of a
Wojciech.
guy behind him. Yeah.
It's Wojciech behind me.
So the story behind that, if you don't know, at where was that? Hamcation this last year?
Yeah. So we were at Hamcation.
Yeah, Florida, Orlando. And I walked by the thank you Chad for the gifted memberships. Appreciate that. So Steve is there, and M17 has a booth, and Steve is there, and he has a picture of Ed kind of like in a frame on the table on the back wall, and everybody's coming by saying, "What happened to Ed? Is he okay?" Like it's a memorial to him or something. They're like,
the
no,
black tablecloth did not help at all.
I forgot about that. So now that's a running joke. Is that Frank's like, hey, put a picture of me behind you. I was like, well, I don't have a picture of you, Frank, but that's a great idea though.
That originally came from Rosie over at ARDC. The first trip that we took to Germany, Ed wasn't able to go with us. So, as a dedication to Ed and to have him with us in the photo, we had him on the back wall when we were taking photos and everything like that. And Rosie was a great person. She's got an awesome sense of humor. So ever since then, I've forced Wojciech to hold on to that photo. So every time that we go to another event, he has it with him and we put it up. I was like, I have enough pictures of Ed. I don't need another one to carry around.
I got a ton of phone calls and text messages. Are you okay?
Are you okay? Yeah. I don't doubt that at all. That was funny because it really looked like a memorial picture, and I'm like, dude, what happened to Ed? Hey man, Ed, you got a fan base, buddy, because people were concerned about you. That's a good thing. That's awesome. So, all right, well, but when I brought you guys on the first time, I think it was like Hamvention, like the next year, you said that I was the first channel to ever live stream about an M17. I'm like, well, we got to keep this going. So
this is like our 6th or 7th appearance, I think.
Something like that.
It's going to turn into the Ed and Steve show. That's what it's going to happen.
Well, I hope so. That'd be great. That'd be great. We would like that. So, but yeah, we like to keep up with you guys, and I mean, ARDC Grant, you guys have made a lot of progress since then, and it's been fun to kind of follow you guys and see what all the different hands that are in it, all the different ideas everybody comes up with, and just how it's progressing. One of the things I was at a Meshtastic convention 2 or 3, a very small one here locally, 2 or 3 weekends ago, and they were talking about the fact that Meshtastic is open source and how this and this and this and what can we do to make it better. And I'm like, let me tell you something. Ham radio is all about open source stuff right up until the point where people just kind of like lose interest in it, because there's no corporate backing behind it, there's no marketing, there's no advertising, there's no this, that, and the other. I've seen a lot of open source projects die on the table because people just kind of like, oh yeah, well that hadn't updated in 6 months, so what else is new? That kind of thing. So, but M17 having that boost from ARDC, I think is going to be a really, really good project for that. So I look forward to seeing how you guys grow, what else you come up with, whether kind of new radios we come out with, and what goes from there. Have you talked to Joe with Comjot to see if he's going to try to work on anything with that, or is that a?
It is possible.
Yeah.
The problem that we're running into is that nobody wants to do the work, because M17, even though it's open source, doesn't mean that our time is free. And so a lot of these organizations that are asking for M17 to be built into their products get kind of scared away when we say, okay, well, this is how much it's going to cost for me to do that for you.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's open source. Anybody can do the work if they understand it. But again, these companies have to realize that time is money.
Time is money. Sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to do the work for free, but I can't eat spaghetti off of free. So,
right. Yeah. No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I really don't blame you. I mean, the end product, I mean, you pay for it once, you pay a programmer one time, and then you have it forever. The end product is what it's about with the open source thing. So no, I don't blame you. I would do the same thing. So yeah, if I was a programmer, which I am not, you don't want me programming your stuff. So you can hire Frank.
I'd love to hire Frank.
I tried to get Frank a job with Flex Radio like 3 years ago at Hamvention. He's like, well, and I'm like, they're in Austin. They're like 3 hours south of us. And he's like, well, I like going into the office. I'm like, you are no longer my friend. I'm like, you have a job. You have an He wasn't offered a job. But I was like, you have an interview with Flex freaking Radio, Frank, and you like, and he lives by himself. And he doesn't like to work from home. I'm like, seriously, why am I friends with you? I don't even know who you are. So I like to tease him about that because he's a good sport, but but yeah, so.
Well, he's also crazy enough to jump out of a perfectly good plane.
That is a good point as well. Yeah, that is a good point as well. I was at that, I think it was Belton, at one of our local hamfests, and they're like, hey, where's the guy that jumps out of planes? I'm like, Carlos, he lives in Indiana. No, the other guy that lives down here. I'm like, Frank? He's like, yeah, where's Frank? I'm like, that's not how you describe Frank, the guy that jumps out of planes. That's not right. There's something fundamentally wrong with that.
He's done it twice now, I think, right?
Yeah, I think twice. Carlos probably has 1,000 jumps under his belt. But Frank is the guy who jumps out of planes. I don't know. I found that odd. But,
famous.
Yeah, ham famous. Oh boy, yeah. All in good fun. Good fun. Guys, thanks once again for your time tonight. We will definitely keep in touch. I share the link to the Discord. I'll put the link to the Discord in the description also for you guys on Team Replay. Y'all can go check that out, the Discord, the M17 Discord. If you have any questions or comments, or if you're a developer and want to get involved in the project, I'm sure they'd welcome you in there. And yeah, it's going to be really fun to see how well it goes. And I'm going to have fun listening to this for the next couple of weeks to see just the activity and what it overall sounds like, instead of just listening for a couple minutes on the live stream. So it's going to be a good project to follow. So. Both of you guys, Ed, Steve, thanks for your time tonight, and just kind of look forward to seeing where it goes from here.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason.
Support amateur radio open source projects. Go out there, get yourself a GitHub account, and see what else is out there. A lot of great projects.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. We're gonna let y'all go, and we'll talk to everybody in the chat. We'll talk to y'all this week sometime. So 73 to all.
73. All right, 73.
Later.